CataractCoach.com, the Best of Cataract Coach course from the ASCRS in Boston 2024.
Last case, pseudo exfoliation. All right. Here's a re-op of a tough pseudo exfoliation case. So the patient had a prior surgeon go in the eye, made an incision, put in a pupil expansion ring, and now it's time for you to do the case. Surgeon aborted that case because the AC seemed awfully deep. Even though the pre-op AC depth was 2 millimeters, on the table it was 4 millimeters. So what is your game plan now? Plow right ahead, don't trust the previous surgeon? Let's have everything ready. CTR, capital books, AVIT. Stop and look at the pre-op exam or plan for Yamane. So again, the challenge here was the patient pre-op. The patient has about a 2 millimeter AC depth on the OR, in the slit lamp, maybe 2.5. On the OR table, the AC depth is 4 millimeters.
Okay.
When the patient's supine. So what does that tell you?
The zonules are loose.
Right.
Has the patient had a vitrectomy before?
No prior surgery other than the patient was taken to the OR for cataract surgery about a month ago. And a pupil expansion was placed. Surgeon then decided just to abort and took the ring out.
No other, just did the incision in the
The patient has a para, a main incision, and evidence of a prior pupil
What's
expansion.
the axial length?
Don't do the lights like that. You're hitting the light switch with your elbow, buddy. Could you help us? Hey, AV people. My friend, can you turn the lights down? Thank you. Yeah, someone touched the light switch there with their elbow or something.
What was the axial length?
Normal, 23.
Okay.
23 millimeter axial
I
length.
would do B. I'd have everything ready to go, but know that you're going to run into issues.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, when your AC depth is shallow, with your biometry, and then you go into the eye and it gets much deeper, the zonules are a bit loose.
Well, Rose brought a good point. So shallow AC, but normal axial length. Well, you asked the axial lengths. You're right. So loose lens iris diaphragm. And so sometimes harder to detect that phacokinesis. Sometimes we'll see this on the OR table. You'll see a lot, like an AC deep on the patient's supine, and then a lot of wrinkles with the rexus. Yeah. All kind of very important, intraoperative clues here. And so in a case like this, we definitely, in pseudo X, I don't mind doing a pupil stretch, and I tend to want to use a CTR, so we'll do that too. And then in this case, we ended up just using the same incision that the surgeon had from a month before and just open it up. So here's some viscoelastic. I put a lot of 10% phenylephrine ahead of time, really got the patient dilated. And you can see there's a lot of pseudo exfoliation material there. I'm just opening up the incision with this cannula because the incision was already made. This surgeon used a 275 incision, so we'll just stick with that. You can see there's a little wrinkling there in the capsular bag. So we'll get a nice generous rexus here. I've learned from you, DP, don't make a baby rexus in a pseudo X case because they're going to get phimosis later. Mm-hmm. So we'll get a nice generous 5 millimeter rexus, nicely using that pseudo X as the guide.
Yeah, that was convenient.
Right, and then so we'll get this nucleus removed pretty easily. Definitely going to put a CTR here too. Now how are you going to do it for nucleus removal? Divide and conquer? Tried and true, it's all they do. Stop and chop, works well every time. Phaco chop, horizontal and vertical. Or flip it out of the bag because I told you to.
You're going to flip it out of the bag because that's all you do.
No.
Yeah.
What am I not hating?
I love stop and chop. It's my go-to procedure. I always like to just get one groove. I divide it in half, and then I can get that lens out. It's in 2 pieces.
It's easy.
And I do a squeeze chop.
Right.
And it's really gentle and works for me. What would you do, Rosa?
So I would do my technique, which is a pocket chop, which is kind of akin to a phaco chop. You just got to make sure you don't put any undue forces on the lens. So you've got to be able, so if it's soft enough with the pocket, you can do a soft chop under sculpt and just use your second instrument to slice and crack the lens into 2 halves. But the key here is to do all your chopping in the bag before you start removing a piece, so that you always keep the tangential force equal around all the zonules. If you start pulling pieces out, you allow that bag to collapse in those areas. So chop everything out and then remove everything. And again, in these pseudo XIs, if I'm worried, I don't let the eye decompress.
Smart.
And the other thing is I always do hydrodelineation. So I keep the epinucleus there supporting the bag as I'm taking the endonucleus out, which is a really helpful strut.
So
see, I told you. You're so predictable.
You say it like it's a bad thing. It's a good thing.
He's a man, so.
Whoa! You're clapping for that? What if I said the opposite?
It's not true, the opposite. So.
Hey, come on now. So yeah, I'll chop, more chop, get this thing out. So look, there's zero stress on the bag. How good is that?
Just ask the corneal endothelium.
The cornea is perfectly clear the next morning.
No, I'm totally joking. You know that.
Perfectly clear. Phaco power modulations, beveled down, very little energy. Clean it up pretty nicely. Now here, I think I'm just going to do some cortex removal. I'll watch carefully, but I think there's no focal area of zonular loss. It's kind of just global zonular weakness here. Yeah. Now it's not super weak on the zonular area, zonular support, but it's reasonable. As I take the cortex out, I'm looking at the rexus edge just to make sure the rexus doesn't move.
Smart.
So then the rexus is really not moving. So I was like, wow, this is not as bad as I thought. I was actually going in here a little bit more trepidation because the previous surgeon, who I respect a lot, said, no, this is a tough case. And so we're going to put here, now I've learned from you, look, visco dissect the cortex, fill the bag. See, I learned.
The other key here, just while we're waiting for you to put the IOL in, is just
CTR.
Sorry, is to also make sure there are no nuclear fragments under these irises.
Oh, very good.
To make sure you're not surprised the next day.
Absolutely.
And that goes for floppy irises as well. And don't ask me how I know.
So do you lift the iris?
I do. Yeah.
So at the end of the case, use like the chopper, lift the iris.
Lift the iris, and I kind of sweep tangentially with the IA to make sure, do a little wiggle in the middle to try to get the forces to bring anything to me. Otherwise, you can lose a piece under the iris, especially these honey-colored irises, the blue-orangey irises, and it can you're going to have to go back in and take it out.
What's your lens choice here? Hopefully not B, right?
I would do a single piece in the bag. You have a CTR in, you're completely stable now, and just do the lens that you do.
Yeah, I would do a single piece acrylic IOL in the bag.
Yeah, it's basically what I'm going to do here too. But although if it's really bad global zonular weakness, I think E is really a neat option too.
Yes.
Because that really prevents the intercapsular rexus from phimosing down.
Right, but your zonular laxity was not so severe here.
Right, so here I think it's reasonable to just put the single piece in the bag. But yeah, if you have in your really bad global zonular laxity, a CTR in the bag, and then a 3-piece with optic capture, happens in sulcus, is like so beautifully stable.
Would you do a toric in this eye if they had astigmatism?
Yes, I have no problem doing a toric here. And then you kind of balance it out. Will the patient come back later with complete dislocation of the bag complex? Maybe. But lucky the patient's already 90, so time's kind of on your side. I'm being honest. Time's on your side, not the patient's side. So here's what we do. And we're going to wrap this up soon. Here we go. Here comes the lens. So yeah, just a single piece. I think it's, let's see what lens it is. I think it's, it's a non-toric. So just monofocal lens, non-toric in the bag. There's the rexus, what seemed like a mega rexus, just about perfect.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
And then we'll just finish it up and call it a day. And we can put some triamcinolone in the AC to make sure that we don't have any excessive inflammation.
And so the other thing I do in these cases to look for chips is that after I do complete removal of viscoelastic, I actually put the IA probe there, depress from the para, so you decompress the AC but leave the lens where it is, and so any pieces can come forward, and then increase the irrigation again. So you kind of cause a little turbulence to see if you can get some pieces to fly in.
Oh, just kind of like high flow to get
push everything around. But you decompress, right, and then it comes. But you don't shallow the posterior segment, right? You keep your IA probe there, keep the lens in place, and then just kind of do some fluid shifts.
So this patient's other eye, how would you proceed?
Same way.
Just kind of same way.
You did a great case, Uday. Congratulations. It looks beautiful.
It took me 8 cases to get a compliment. All right, thank you. So, end of the case here looks pretty good. Again, I like to put a little extra triamcinolone here. I put triamcinolone. I'll put a little bit of preservative-free moxifloxacin as well for endophthalmitis prophylaxis. And this patient's going to have a real nice outcome here. So there's checking the incisions.
So with all joking aside, Uday and I have been friends for over 25 years, and Deep as well, we've all been friends. So we're just joking. Uday is probably one of the best surgeons I know.
Thank you.
Of course.
But it's the best way of learning. I mean, the best way is to put it all out there, and the difference between a mistake and a lesson is you learn from the lesson. So I want to make all these cases lessons. A little LRI there so we can fix it, probably a half diopter a sill, and everything looks great. Again, normal pressure. Pretty happy here.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
All righty. So any audience questions here, our last couple of minutes? Beautiful. We'll take any audience input. Yes?
I have a question about your triamcinolone.
Yes.
Do you use catalog for me?
So triamcinolone, yeah, we use catalog, and I filter it and clean it, and there's a video on CataractCoach.com where you can see how to do that. So if you don't, that's such an important question. So if you type, every day when I go to the order, the beginning of the day, I just go there early. I'll prepare it myself, and I show how to do it. I even show the part numbers of the exact filter I use. Again, if you go to CataractCoach.com, the website, not just YouTube, go to CataractCoach.com, type in keyword triamcinolone. It'll come up, and it's an easy step-by-step video of exactly what I do, and I show the part numbers of all the filters and all that stuff too.
Thank you for all of your teaching
Oh, thank you.
every day of the year.
Yeah.
Cataract Coach.
Thank you. Thank you. And remember our podcast, please. If you're not a subscriber to our podcast, best podcast in all of ophthalmology. Every Sunday, these guys have been on it, an hour long. You will love it. And please follow me on social media. Thank you guys. Hey. Awesome.